Welcome to Between Two Ferns, a totally original and non-gimmicky name we're giving to our Let's Talk About Teaching presentation. I'm Xander Huggins, a graduate student in the Department of Civil Engineering, and I'm joined by Tom.
Hi. Whoa. I'm Tom.
Yeah, I'm Tom.
What? And this is what we're
He always
what are we doing
whines
here?
about he was Tom first. Okay, I'll be Thomas.
Okay, I'm Tom.
Hi.
Hey.
The Department of Civil Engineering is pursuing a major curriculum initiative to implement a sustainable design spine, a sequence of courses throughout the four-year program with major team design projects that build on each other to train engineering students in sustainable design. This multi-year curriculum project is driven by the goals of increasing the levels of active learning in the program and increasing the learning outcomes in the areas of sustainability and engineering design. The design spine is being further developed so that sustainability, anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion concepts are consistently integrated across the curriculum, and modules on these topics are planned to be integrated across all semesters of our program. So I'll start with you, Thomas, not Tom.
That was quite a mouthful. Did everyone get that?
Yeah, did you get it, Tom?
I got it.
Sort of got it.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, let's keep
At
going.
least as long as one Tom gets it, we should be fine. But Thomas, UVic's civil engineering program intends to be the, quote, greenest civil engineering department in Canada.
Which is why we're here with these ferns.
Yes. A good place to start is if you could provide a definition for sustainable design or sustainability-centered design. What does it mean and entail, and how does it support the departmental vision of being the greenest department in Canada?
Okay, so design, of course, is central to the idea of engineering, and we want to do a good job of dealing with design in our program, but we also want to incorporate this idea of being green civil engineering. So the way we're addressing design is to really focus on sustainable design, or thinking about how you do design processes that have sustainability as a core concept. We're kind of borrowing ideas from design thinking or user-centric design, but instead of the idea of the end user being at the center of the design process, it's the idea that sustainability is at the center of the design process.
Can you describe how this curriculum revision, or what you sometimes call, Thomas, Curriculum 2.0 came about? In many ways, the Civi curriculum already offers many courses not often included in traditional civil engineering programs, including sustainable development, environmental policy, building science, and energy. So how is the need for this initiative identified?
Yeah, so the civil program is fairly young, as many people know. The department's less than 10 years old. So although we have a fairly new curriculum, our curriculum was actually developed before we hired our 18 faculty members, or before we had taught any students. And we've now had, what, five cohorts of students graduate. And so we've now collected a lot of ideas of things we'd like to improve about our curriculum, including more active learning, more design projects. And so we're collecting all those up into what we call Curriculum 2.0 to do kind of an upgrade of all of these new ideas into the curriculum.
And before I bring Tom 2.0 into this conversation, can you provide an overview of the features of the design spine and perhaps explain why the analogy of a spine is useful for the initiative?
Yeah, so we really want a very active learning approach. We want students to be doing design, working in teams to design things, but that doesn't mean that we want every course to be a big design project so that at the end of the term, students have these 6 major projects they have to get done. So the idea of the design spine is
we
that
should really be sitting up a little bit straighter here for this.
The idea of the design spine is that every term has a major design project, and it's hosted by one main course, and there's several other courses supporting it, and that they develop throughout the whole program, and that's the design spine throughout the program.
Yeah.
So Tom, other Tom, do you ever go by that, other Tom? It's a little.
I'm fine with other Tom. Tom. I don't like Tommy, but
oh, I hate Tommy.
So Tom, you and I have been spending our summer working on further developing this design spine by integrating sustainability, anti-racism, and EDI concepts across the curriculum. You have a memorable analogy yourself for how these initiatives all fit together. Can you walk us through this, please?
Yeah, for me, and that's why I just sat up a little bit straighter. I realized that a spine is great, but if you think about a skeleton, a spine isn't really going to hold itself up without muscles. So a spine needs muscles, otherwise it's just going to limp down like this. And muscles need blood. They need oxygen and nutrients to support their growth and their maintenance. So I started thinking of an analogy that I think of as a spine, muscles, and heart, where the muscles are our sustainability understanding and our level of knowledge about sustainability science. So I think of the design spine as supported by sustainability muscles, and those sustainability muscles are supported by a heart of anti-racism and better understanding and practice of equity, diversity, and inclusion.
So that makes up the whole body of our curriculum.
That's right. So even though we're not biologists, we're talking about bodies and trying to be in or think about how the body is important to our learning.
And Tom Gleeson, this initiative has dovetailed very nicely with the spine in this sort of whole body approach, but nevertheless, it did originate externally to it. So can you provide some insight on what your motivation was to pursue this curriculum development on these three topics, specifically sustainability, anti-racism, and EDI?
Yeah, and by EDI, we mean equity, diversity, and inclusion. Try not to be acronym person, just for some of the people out there who aren't in the Ferns. And yeah, I guess I was really motivated over the last year by everything that's been happening in the world. 2020 has been a crazy year. We all know that. COVID was the big story. We were impacted by that in a social way, from health and economic perspective. And obviously here on campus, it's been a very different campus this year. But other things also really happened in 2020 that were really important and impacted me personally and many other people as well. So in early 2020, there was the biggest environmental demonstrations in a generation, and it really became part of the mainstream acknowledgement that we are in a climate crisis. So that just elevated kind of the sustainability, importance of sustainability and environmental and green curriculum in my mind. And the second thing that happened more in the middle part of 2020 was the Black Lives Matter movement really galvanized our understanding of the importance of anti-racism. So those two things together really inspired me to take a fresh look at our curriculum in civil and be part of changes that I see both in our department, in our university, but also more broadly.
And sticking on this topic, can you explain a bit about the process of this work? By way of contrast, we could think of the overall design spine that Thomas 1.0 talked about as more of a top-down revamp, whereas this Heart and Muscles initiative was more, shall we say, bottom-up. So Tom Gleeson, could you speak on that? And Thomas Froese, you can feel free to add your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think both of us kind of look at the big picture and also the small scale. So if you want to say the top down and bottom up, I think for me, I've been really inspired by, thinking what can I do as an individual instructor in my courses, and how can I support other instructors in civil engineering to build some of this content into their curriculum. So it is a little bit more bottom up and organic and really based on getting colleagues together. So really supporting each other and to grow in these ways. And maybe you can say a little bit more.
When you came up with that idea of looking at the EDI, in a sense, that light bulb went off for me a bit, in that the approach to dealing with that in the curriculum fit very nicely with what we were already trying to do with design.
Yeah.
And in fact, I realized it expands further to a whole bunch of different skills that we are trying to, and in fact, we're required to be covering as part of our accreditation process, all of our so-called graduate attributes.
Right.
So the idea that really all of these subjects can be treated in the same way, of these modules that we overlay onto our technical topics throughout our courses.
Yeah, and I guess it's really important, and that was, I guess, some of the really exciting and inspiring conversations that you and I have had, and with other colleagues around these synergies, and yeah, building a bigger vision for our program. We were just talking to a colleague who in biology who happened by, and he was saying how fragmented in other programs their courses are. And I think one of the things we're trying to do is build more cohesion so that content builds throughout the program, and students have a better perspective on how their learning in a specific content relates to the whole program.
And it comes back to the spine idea.
Exactly.
It kind of links it all together.
Yeah.
And Thomas Froese, in your response there, you provided a perfect segue to my next question, which is that engineering, of course, is an accredited degree. And so I imagine accreditation is always at the back of your mind. Can you discuss how this overall initiative supports the accreditation process or makes it easier?
Yeah, so in accreditation, we have these graduate attributes, a number of different skills, engineering skills and engineering knowledge content that we're responsible for ensuring that all of our students are gaining. And we have an accreditation process where we go through all of this data collection and reporting. It's a big effort.
It's a big effort,
and the way it works right now, it really doesn't feed back very successfully into
actual courses.
Into the actual courses, what's happening in the classroom. And we'd like to close that loop and have all this effort kind of be more useful. And so these initiatives we're treating as these explicit learning modules that will be incorporated throughout our courses. And we think that they really satisfy our accreditation reporting requirements.
And will probably be even more robust.
Yeah, do a better job of
those. All right, well, thank you, Thomas. And now, in closing, we're wrapping up here this of course, wonderful interview with Tom's.
We're finally wrapping up?
We finally are.
All right.
And in closing, I would just wanted to ask if, and this is open to both of you, if there are any reflections either of you would like to share on these processes of curriculum redevelopment, such as useful resources, sources of motivation, lessons learned, and are willing to share.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Yeah, I've already spoken a little bit about some of my motivations, but I think it is important for me to talk about some of my hesitations as well. As a white man of privilege, I was kind of hesitant to start along this, and I was feeling some imposter syndrome of what is my role, and who am I to be talking about anti-racism and equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I kind of worked through those feelings and had conversations with a number of people, and I realized through that it's the importance of leaning on other people and other colleagues and having good, honest conversations. And leaning on other resources. So that's been a real learning kind of journey for me a little bit over the last few months. And there are many new resources and old resources around these issues, and they are constantly evolving. So I guess one of my big lessons is not just making a course change within my own course, like making it a broader change or trying to make it a broader initiative within the department or the university. And I'm even in conversation with colleagues from other universities who are in my field. And so, yeah, just to lean out and to try to make something bigger and more robust and more, I guess, more inclusive, obviously, as well.
Yeah, and picking up on that kind of broader theme, we've been doing a number of curriculum initiatives now for 3-4 years. And they've taken a lot of different forms, some formal curriculum LTSI projects like this one, and some projects with students, summer students, or things we've done in classes, or even just discussions around coffee or some faculty retreats. And what I've found really neat is the way that each one of these has sort of added one new kernel of a great idea to add to the program, and they've really all built on top of each other, and they just keep building and building, and so this seems to be continuing that trend, and I think we'll be continuing it for a while yet.
Well, great. I want to thank you both for being on this, of course, soon to take off adventure between the Ferns with Xander and two Toms. Are there any sort of are there any other ways we can milk these puns with your names before we sign
I
off?
think that's it. I'm Tom. I just want to close it
Okay,
up.
I'll be Thomas. You be Tom.
But
Goodbye.
between the two of you, you need to figure out who's the Tom bits person.
Thomas. Thank you, Xander.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you both for joining me, and I want to thank the audience for listening. And we'll be spending the remainder of our 30-minute session in a live question and answer period. So we'll see you in real life.
On Zoom.
See ya. Bye.